Yeah, I mean, my backstory, so I've worked in sales for a while.
Yeah.
But I always say that I worked in sales, but I wasn't a salesperson. I wasn't a salesman because I was just skating by on personality. Like I'm good in social interaction. So I ended up doing really well not really well, like $40,000 a year, but I was doing like decent in sales and I didn't have any tactical knowledge. So I knew the old style of, tactics of like feel, felt, found, and the assumptive close.
I
and
know how you feel.
close.
Others have felt the same way.
Yeah,
This is
and what they found is blah, 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 blah. So like you use those over and over again. And then what I would do, I noticed the cycle where I would work a sales job, get burnt out, leave, do something else, and then decide, oh, I should go back into sales. And then I get a sales job selling something else, get burnt out, leave, and the cycle would continue. So I sold
what do you think caused that burnout though?
Not knowing how to actually connect with people. And so two things. One, being attached to the sale, which is a huge thing that you taught me, which was detach yourself from the outcome. And people can sense that. They don't want to smell your commission breath.
Yeah. So, I love the commission breath that some,
exactly. Like, so let me get those credit card digits. Let me get those. So being attached to the sale is one thing. And then two, not knowing the right skills to actually get people over the line and to overcome their own objections. So those two things together, when you're attached to the sale, but you don't know how to get the sale, you're obviously going to get burnt out because over time you're feeling these high highs when you get a sale and then these low lows when you don't get a sale.
Because you're getting a lot of objections. So, I remember, Matt Ryder, who's our CEO.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of that guy, business partner now. But actually, before that happened, 6 months ago, Matt was one of my clients. So he came to me probably a year and 5 months ago. It was like 2 or 3 or 4 months before COVID. And he was already doing really well. I mean, he was like the top sales guy in his whole industry. He was making like 20 grand a month, 25 grand a month. It's a lot of money, right? But he was like, dude, I feel like I'm just like in a boxing match every day. Like I get in the cage and I'm all nervous every day, 5 days a week. And like, I go for 2 or 3 months like that. And I literally have to take a couple weeks off because I feel like I have to mentally heal because I'm just like beating them up, and they throw out the objection and I throw back the rebuttal and I try to overcome it. It's like a freaking boxing match back and forth. And I'm just burned out. Like I've thought about not even quitting sales because of all the rejection, all the objections you have to cover. What goes on at that point in your mind?
Well, like you said, it's a boxing match. And if you try to be in a boxing match every single day for 10 years, you're going to get beat up pretty bad. You're going to get tired. And like one of the huge things I learned from NEPQ was looking at objections not like a problem, or looking at it like a problem that you can solve with your prospect, as opposed to going in and like now you're having this face-to-face combat of I want you over the line. You're saying no, but we need to, instead of being combative, you're being collaborative and you're actually helping them find a solution and helping them realize the solution on their own, as opposed to trying to just present solutions to them.
Yeah, it's so true. The boxing match like wears you down, right? You see salespeople all the time, like, well, and they'll be in a sales job for a couple of years and they get burned out, like you said, and they're like, well, the product is no good or the leads are no good. So then they go sell something else, and then that's a great opportunity. Then a year or two later, they say the same thing, and then they go to another sales job and they say the same thing a year or two later, and it's like this cycle.
Cycle continues.
Yeah, they don't realize it's because they haven't learned the right skills that work with human behavior that get the prospect to actually want to engage with you, to want to open up to you, to want to give you details that most salespeople wouldn't even know the right questions to ask to even get those details, even if they knew about it, right? You don't know what you don't know.
So this is the longest that I've been in sales and actually like not felt burnt out. And I owe all of that to NEPQ because, like I said, like I've done sales jobs before and done like an assortment of gigs. And I actually left. I was in financial sales and I was so burnt out after 2 years of doing that I left completely. And I was like, this is it. This is the final straw. I'm never doing sales ever again. I'm never good. I was so burnt out on human interaction that I started applying for busing jobs at restaurants.
You were that burned out.
I was that burned out, and I was like, I'm so done. And I would go to these places, and I have tons of experience in bartending and serving, and they're like, well, we have a bartending position open. You'll make 5 times as much money. Do you want that? I was like, no, I do not. I want to show up to work. I want to put my head down. I want to clean some tables. I want to leave. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to have any social interactions with anyone. I was that burnt out. And I did that for a couple months, just bussing tables, making like 15, 16 bucks an hour.
Wow.
And I took that pay cut because I didn't want to talk to people. And then I got forced
you were
back into
so
sales.
burned out from sales.
So burned
and
out.
then you went to get a busing job making half of what you're making before because you were that burned out. Then the good old boy COVID hit, right?
Yep. Good old boy COVID hit. I have an event company in Seattle where I currently live. And obviously you can't do events in the middle of COVID. So had to put that on pause, basically. And I also couldn't get unemployment. So I'm like, okay, I need to do something for money. I
have to eat food.
I have to eat. As much as I love not eating, I have to do that. So, and also like living in a place with a roof.
Right.
Fond of food and roofs.
Fond of food and roofs, yeah.
Call me crazy. But I decided, okay, I saw an ad online. My friend had gone through like some sales training programs. He was doing well. He was doing like, 150, 200,000 a year. And I'm like, all right, maybe there's something to this. So I went through a similar program. I won't name which sales training programs they were, but they were good. It was a good program. It got me involved into sales, got me back into it. I started to see the matrix a little bit, but it was still very like consultative.
Yeah.
But I'm thankful that it gave me that sort of opening into like getting my first like gig, like selling a $5,000 fitness package that I could do from home. And I made like decent money doing that. But what I noticed is that I was still like so burnt out at the end of the day. Because it was just this battle, this constant, especially fitness. Like people will fight like hell to stay inside their comfort zone, especially when it comes with their bodies. And I would be so thankful when I'd get a no-show. And to me, that was a red flag.
That's a red flag. When you're a salesperson, I want to make sure everybody heard that. When you're a salesperson and you feel relieved when the prospect doesn't answer the phone for an appointment, or you're cold calling and they don't answer, or you drive up to their house and they're not there, or you go into a business for a meeting and nobody's there and you feel relief, that might be a red flag to you that you still have not learned the right skills and you're uncomfortable. Right? That's a red flag. Like dude, I love that, man. I got to get that. How did you do that?
So I'm staying with my buddy. He has a fitness podcast, Bodies by Brent. If you guys want to learn some stuff about fitness, that's the plug. And he's got a whole podcast set up in here. So I've actually utilized this in my sales calls today. So whenever a prospect has a limiting belief, there you go. If they make a bad joke, boom.
And what did they do when you do that?
Crickets. It's a pattern interrupt. People love it. I've actually only done it on one sales call so far today. I just realized I could do it.
Oh my gosh. You know what? We have got to start using that.
$30,000. So
I love that, dude. I'm buying that. Sign me up, man. All right. So you get back into sales, you get into a training program, which I know what it is. I know which training program you got in. I'm not going to name names. It's a decent program. It's going to give you a decent start, but you're never going to make hundreds of thousands a year with consultative selling because
it's a good foundation. If you know nothing about sales, it's a good base, but
it's just very logical based questions to find out the needs about the prospect, but it's still very surface level. It's better than like traditional selling, but you're just kind of still going to be average or a little bit above average. Okay. So then how did you get involved with the training here in NEPQ? What happened?
Man, serendipitous. I'm so thankful for how it all played out. So I got connected to Matt.
Yeah.
And he was doing a lot of fitness sales at the time. So my friend was like, hey, you should check out Matt Ryder because he's really good at fitness sales. And I was selling fitness at the time. So I went on to his like Facebook group. I joined the closing code group and I like listened to some of his calls. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm learning a lot of cool stuff. And it was the sales style. It was NEPQ, but I didn't know what it was. And I was like,
you didn't know what? Yeah. Cause I just trained him in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was freshly like being mentored by you. I think it was like 2 or 3 months after you guys started working together. And I was like, whoa, this is great. Like I can see why sales calls go so smooth this way. So I started like absorbing his content and learning that.
So you had the blue pill that you'd always taken. And then Matt was like, here's the red pill. So it's like the matrix, right? That's what everybody tells me when they start going through the training. It's like their mind becomes open. Like, good Lord, I never knew this like was a possibility. Like I was with the blue pill. You know, I thought selling was this, but now my eyes are open and selling is so easy now.
Yeah, exactly. So he, and my calls for that fitness account were like an hour and a half, hour 45 long. And I did a sales call review with Matt and he was like, you are decent at sales, but you hate your script. It's a very bad script. I was like, yeah, you're right. And he was like, just do it how you feel comfortable. Just try it on the next one. And so I did. I closed it in like 35 minutes with no objections. And I was like, okay, this is better. This is better sales. So from then he poached me and he was like, do you want to just come work for me and leave that company? And I was like, yeah, I do. And that was 7 months ago. And then ever since then, we've just I got introduced to you and just dived deep in NEPQ, and I couldn't.
Yeah, no, about 8 months ago or whenever it was, you got into our advanced inner circle program. And that's where we write out your sales structure. We tie NEPQ into what you sell specifically. We tweak it. You work with me through Voxer, and you've asked me questions, every week about this or that. We break down recorded calls, sales calls, and we help you tweak and role play. And then boom, you went up here. We're talking about multiple 6 figures a year. And before, with traditional selling, you're making 40 grand a year. That's a big difference in income.
Yep.
How is your life different how is your life different now than it was back then? We're talking a year ago.
My life isn't even recognizable. It's recognizable in the sense that I'm still on the up and up. Like, I'm still fresh. Like, this is only a year in.
Yeah.
What's unrecognizable is my state of mind.
Tell us what that means.
That means that I think there's a direct correlation between your income level and what you invest in yourself in personal development. Like your good friend Brad Lee says, is training something you did or training something you do?
Yeah.
And I've never really invested in myself before. I remember the first sales training program was $2,000, and I was like, oh, it's so much money. I was scared to do it. And then fast forward to now, over the last year, I've spent almost 30 grand on personal development.
Yeah.
Most of that
and what did that 30 grand make you? See?
Exactly. And so you start to see, once you do it, you see the matrix, and it's scary. But if you're in sales, you're asking people to put themselves in uncomfortable positions to get an outcome that they wouldn't normally get. And you have to be congruent. So are you willing to put yourself in an uncomfortable position temporarily in order to get an outcome that you wouldn't normally get?
Yeah, because which is more risky? I mean, as a sales professional, let's, just talk about that. Which is more risky? Is it more risky to stay in status quo, keep selling the same way you always have, making the same amount of money month after month and month, hope and pray that it works out? Is that risky? Or is it more risky to get the funding together to put into advanced training so you can actually double and triple or more your income and never look back? What the hell? Which one is more risky?
Yeah.
Doing nothing, making the same amount of money, or actually learning advanced skills where you can make multiple 6 figures a year like you are now? Which is more risky?
Well, I hope people know the answer to that, because the world is always changing, and you're always changing. So if you're not actively learning and actively getting better, you're going backwards. We've been talking for 20 minutes. We have different cells in our body. We are changing. Our environment is different. They say a man can't bathe in the same river twice, for he's not the same man, nor is it the same river. So if you are not actively learning and you are not actively progressing and investing in yourself, the river's pulling you backwards.
Yeah.
You have to be moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. Now let's talk about, so I know you have two jobs right now. So you sell Amazon coaching and training. So people that want to start an Amazon business, well, hell, they have to have the right training to know how to actually make money with Amazon, right? You don't just start and figure it out. You have to have the right skills.
You can try.
And then you also, you can try, right? Try is never a good plan, right? Trying is basically you have a plan B, so you'll never make plan A. That's what the word try means. Do is actually plan A, and you actually do it and you achieve it. There's a big difference in that. And then you also sell on the side, you still sell fitness. So one of those industries, what's the biggest objection you get? Let's talk about that for a second.
In one of them or in both of them?
Or maybe it's the same one. What's one of the biggest objections you get in your job?
The biggest one is think about it.
Okay.
Because that can be anything.
So let's talk about that, because I know a lot of people listening, they probably get especially if they're not using NEPQ, the biggest objection they probably get is, we don't have the money, I don't have the time, or I need to think it over. I'm assuming they get that objection a lot because they don't understand NEPQ, okay? When you learn NEPQ, that objection probably goes away 60, 70% of the time. Much, much easier. Totally. But if you still get it, what do you say to your prospects, or what do you ask them when they say, hey, I want to think about this or whatever?
Yeah. Well, like you said, if you're doing NEPQ properly, that shouldn't be an issue because we want to get them to overcome the objection before we even present a solution to them. So that
it's called objection prevention. Most of the time, by the questions you're asking, it prevents that objection from even going in their mind.
100%. But if people still have that objection, and what was difficult for me at first was clarifying the objection, because like we said, like a think about it or check my finances or whatever, like these are smokescreen objections most of the time that could mean anything.
And you don't know what that means.
You have no clue. And like, if you don't handle their like true meaning behind that objection, you're just throwing spaghetti at a wall and hoping it sticks, which I think is one of your favorite quotes. So,
I call it hopium, right? It's a drug that so many salespeople and companies are on, where they just hope and pray that something they're going to say is just going to magically make the prospect want to buy from them. Wow, that's such a dangerous path to go down. Unpredictable.
And I did a lot of hopium for a while. Put a lot of hopium
I'm
in
glad
my
you're
veins.
off the drug now.
And now I'm off. I'm clean. I've been in NEPQ rehab. No more hopium for me.
I love it. So what happens? What do you ask them?
So, I mean, the first thing, like you said, we want to clarify. And personally, I know like you teach a certain way, and I take that into account. I do it a slightly bit differently. But I basically just get that clarification by asking like, okay, well, no worries. I guess, what is it that you want to go over in your mind, and allow them to sort of elaborate. Right.
Yeah. Because when you say, yeah, that's not a problem, what is it that you're wanting to go over in your mind?
Yeah.
That's more neutral than saying, yeah, not a problem. What do you want to think about? That sounds aggressive. You see that difference? Yeah, no problem. What is it that you're wanting to go over in your mind? Just so I understand.
Yeah. And we can't be aggressive. Like, again, this is collaborative. We're like facing side to side, looking at a problem against the wall. And we're both like, well, what are we going to do about that? That seems to be an obstacle, isn't it?
It's collaborative. It's you working with that prospect to help them come up with a solution to solve that problem. So you're working with them. I like that. Typically, what do they say when you ask that, or when you say that, or when you ask that?
When I ask what they want to think about?
Yeah. What was it that you're wanting to go over in your mind, just so I understand?
Yeah. So a lot of times it's finances at that point. Well, I got to make sure it fits the finances, right? You got to look at my finances.
And you say?
Okay, so what I do is I came up with an acronym. It's called DIP, DIP.
Okay.
And it's based on NEPQ, but it's just how I remember. So diffuse, isolate, probe.
I like it.
Kind of what feel free to use it if you want it. That's what I do at objections. So it's like first diffuse, right? Yeah, no worries, not a problem. We totally diffuse it. Isolate. Okay, well, if the funding wasn't an issue, if you did have the funds available, would this be the answer for you?
Yeah.
Right. So then we can isolate, like, okay, is funds really the thing? And then probe if they say, yeah, it would. Okay, well, why do you feel like it is though?
Then probe. Yeah, exactly. So if they say like, well, I just need to check my finances, I might say, how do you mean by your finances? Because maybe that's not a concern. Maybe they're like, oh, maybe they're thinking like, I need to go get the money from my 401k. Totally. And that might take 3 days. You don't know what that means. That might not even be an objection at all. No. They might come back and say, well, I'm going to do this. I'm just trying to see if I should get it from my 401k or if I should put it on a credit card.
Totally. And that's just a logistical issue where if you don't know that it's logistical and you start just taking the mindset 2x4 and hitting them over the head with it, like they're just going to see you as an aggressive salesperson when you could have avoided all of that by asking the right questions at the right time.
And when they view you that way, you lose trust. And when there's no trust, there's no sale. You're dead.
A trusted advisor.
You're not a trusted advisor. You're not a trusted authority. You're not the trusted expert. Then they put you over to the side of the room and they treat you just like another salesperson who's trying to stuff your solution down their throat. And then you're chasing them. Oh, that's just an ugly way of selling.
Super ugly.
I love it, man. This has been a good conversation, dude. I know we both got to get off here in a couple of minutes. Any last words of advice you would want to give anybody listening to this, and maybe advice for like somebody that's new, and advice that somebody that's maybe experienced in selling but really wants to make a lot more money than they are now?
The advice is the same for both people. Yeah. And it goes back to the callback of what we were mentioning earlier. You have to be learning. Yeah. You have to keep, I think there's a statistic, I think you told it to me, that like the majority of salespeople invest less than $100 a year in personal development.
Yeah. Forbes just came out with that as well. This was like 4 or 5 months ago. I read that the average salesperson in North America, now maybe in Australia they spend millions. I don't know. North America, I'm assuming it's the same worldwide.
That explains Matt.
Less than $100 a year on learning news. And most of that's just old regurgitated traditional selling techniques that don't even work anyways.
Exactly. Ugh. Why would we expect the sales industry to be any different if nobody's like moving forward and learning new things and revolting against things that don't work. So the advice is the same. Invest in things that resonate with you so that you can actually get better. So you can actually move forward and increase your level of skill, which in turn will increase your income.
Well, it's 100% true. I mean, that's why Matt and I started the Facebook group Sales Revolution 6 months ago, is because we are starting that revolution. You know, we have almost 5,000 people in there the first 6 months, and we're really starting to grow that now. In the next year, we're going to have about 25 to 30,000 people in that Facebook group. Revolutionaries like you that got tired of selling the old way and getting in the boxing ring every day, like getting the crap beat out of them, or maybe winning some fights here and there, but then having to get up and do the same damn thing every day. It mentally breaks most people, and you don't have to sell that way. Like, good Lord, why do you want to get in a boxing match every day? I'd rather just go into a meeting, ask the right questions at the right time with the right tone, deliver that, and have the prospects just chasing me down wanting to buy because I'm solving their problems. Seems a lot easier.
Way easier. I mean, here we are 8 months later. I'm not burnt out yet. So
I love it. Tony, thanks for being on. That was a great interview. I hope that helped everybody listening. Okay. Tony was a guy, started off sales a while ago, you know, several years back, 40 grand a year, bouncing to job to job to job because he kept getting burned out because he didn't have the right skills. He didn't understand NEPQ. COVID hit, he had no choice, had to get back into sales. And then a year later, multiple six-figure earner, commissions. He's not on salary or anything. Straight commission salesperson, just crush it. And the great thing about Tony is he's still learning. Like this time next year, you're not going to be where you're at income-wise.
I know scratching the surface. If I spent 30 grand last year, I want to spend 60 grand this year on personal development.
Like I know growing. Yeah, like I know you're going to be up at least 30, 40% more, if not more, in your income next year. And you're already making multiple six figures. So that is impressive, but you're ever learning. And as a sales professional, it doesn't matter if you make 30 grand a year or 50 or 80 or 120 or 200 or 250. You're always learning more advanced skills if you want to make a lot of money as a sales professional. Now, if you don't care about making money, but you still want to work a lot of hours and make less money, then you might want to consider a career change would be my suggestion. Because if I'm going to work 40 hours a week as a sales professional, we probably want to make the most amount of money we can in that 40 hours a week, right?
True.
Perfect. You're the man, Mr. Haddad. I love it. Enjoy Texas, and I'll see you soon, dude. Appreciate you.
See you very soon, Jeremy. Thank you, buddy.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed these, here's another you can watch right over here, right over here. Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below, join us, and we're going to help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.